Good afternoon. Trying a little bit of an experiment. We had a technical problem of some sort, or at least we've seemed to have had with Facebook's live feed recently. Not able to see live videos that we thought we'd streamed on Saturday and Sunday. So I thought I'd be test driving live video to see if it still streams and still works, see if there's been a problem with that or some change that Facebook's made, and also to at least relay the message from Sunday so that we can get that out to people and they can get that small part of the service. The scripture that we had this past Sunday was from Ruth chapter 3. It's verses 1 through 11. And so I'm going to go ahead and read those verses, and I'm going to relay to you just a little bit of the message that we had, just a cut down version of it so that we don't have a big long video that we have to try to see. But I'll get a sense of whether or not it's still posting properly, as well as being able to create a video that can send out to the folks who didn't get in, who rely upon the video as the way of getting their connection with the Sunday service. So here's Ruth 3, 1 through 11. Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, "My daughter, I need to seek some security for you so that it may be well with you. Now here's our kinsman Boaz, with whose young women you have been working. See, he is winnowing barley tonight at the threshing floor. Now wash and anoint yourself. Put on your best clothes and go down to the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, observe the place where he lies. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down, and he will tell you what to do." She said to her, "All that you tell me, I will do." So she went down to the threshing floor and did just as her mother-in-law had instructed her. When Boaz had eaten and drunk, he was in a contented mood. He went to lie down at the end of the heap of grain. Then she came stealthily and uncovered his feet and lay down. At midnight, the man was startled and turned over, and there, lying at his feet, was a woman. He said, "Who are you?" And she answered, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your cloak over your servant, for you are next of kin." He said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. This last instance of your loyalty is better than the first. You've not gone after young men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, do not be afraid. I will do for you all that you ask, for all the assembly of my people know that you are a worthy woman." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. Now, briefly, what I talked about Sunday was how this is the concluding interaction between Ruth and Boaz that began with their first meeting that we looked at last week, where they first meet at the beginning of the barley harvest. Once Ruth is made known to Boaz, where he knows not only her name, because he's heard her name and he knows who she is and knows what she's done for Naomi, and now he has identified her with the person, he's actually met the person. Once that connection's made, he then enables her to glean extra wheat, to get a little bit above and beyond what the ordinary person gleaning might get. And he does this as a special favor, as he makes clear, in honor of what she has done for Naomi. He is respecting it greatly. He says it's an incredibly selfless gesture and one of great courage. And so he honors that by giving her the opportunity to pick up a little extra food so that she and Naomi may have a little bit more and maybe be able to make it last, stretch it a little bit further. Now, at the end of the harvest season, we have Naomi awakening to her reality that she can do something for Ruth. She, as the wife of Elimelech, who was the head of the household that Ruth was a part of, the Beit Ab of Elimelech, she has some responsibilities towards Ruth, she still feels, and so she can make sure that they're taken care of. How? By making sure that Ruth has a family, that she has a household that she is in. Will Ruth take Naomi with her? Well, maybe, maybe not, but Naomi is at this point sure that she can make sure that Ruth is well taken care of. She tells Ruth to dress herself nice, to anoint herself with oil, and to make ready, because now it's the threshing of the harvest, which is the end. And at the end of the harvest and at the end of the threshing, which has been several weeks worth of very hard work, there's usually a little celebration, not a flat down, fall down, fraternity party drunk type of celebration, but some merrymaking, some good, breaking out some good food, breaking out some wine, and just celebrating. And I said yesterday, in terms of the old commercial, it's Miller time. So they gather and they have that little feast. Boaz is there with them. He's there with his workers doing this. He's not somebody who holds himself aloof from the laborers who work for him. He participates in the celebration with them, and then he lays down. The grain has been threshed. It's all of the wheat and the chaff has been removed from it, and what's left is just the grain that's going to be used, and that grain in the coming days will be parceled out according to who owns what portion of the land that's been harvested. But in the meantime, it's going to be guarded because that's a good opportunity for somebody to come along and take it. So the workers, generally, as their last part of the harvest, will sleep there near the parcel of grain, or the piles of grain, and that's exactly what Boaz does. As he does this, when he's asleep, Ruth comes and does as Naomi directs. She lays down next to him and uncovers his feet. And then when he is awakened, he is, as you might imagine, startled. He has drunk a little bit, so perhaps he is wondering how much, indeed, that he did drink. And he asks the woman, who he surprisingly finds there next to him, because he knows there wasn't one when he lay down, "Who are you?" "I am Ruth, your servant," she says. Now here, when she calls herself his servant, she's using the politeness codes that are frequently used in this culture as a means of just ordinary address between people of different social stations or different social standing. Boaz is a clan elder, is a person of respect, and so others, even if they are equal to him in rank, might refer to themselves as, they might describe themselves as, "I am your servant." That's a convention that stretched well into the 18th and 19th centuries as people would sign letters, "your servant," and that sort of thing. It's a holdover from this very ancient code of politeness. That's how Ruth describes herself. And she says, "And now spread your cloak over your servant, for you are next of kin," or kinsman redeemer. Two Hebrew words that are very important for the understanding. The first, next of kin or kinsman redeemer, goel. This is the person who, according to the law, the teaching, the law given by God through Moses to the people at Mount Sinai, is the redeemer of the clan. There are certain members of the clan who are empowered with the authority to redeem debts either owed to the clan or owed by the clan. The redeemer, the goel, is the one who will take the money, collect it from the person who actually owes it, and deliver it to the person to whom it's owed. In the same token, the goel will be the one who will go to the person who owes a debt, either because there's an actual payment of debt to be made, or perhaps because there's a fine to be paid under the law. Law has been broken, a fine is owed, the goel is the one who collects. In the case of a blood debt, where the crime that's committed is one that demands some form of punishment up to and including death, the goel is the one who is appointed with the job of exacting that punishment, either in person or perhaps by commanding agents to enact that punishment for him. Boaz has that title, that status within the clan, and so Ruth describes him as such. This is a little different than what Naomi talked about at the beginning of the story, where she talked about how even if she married tonight, she couldn't raise husbands. They'd take 20 years to grow up old enough for her daughters-in-law. There's no way she could help them as she's supposed to. The kinsman redeemer, or the goel, is a little bit different than that custom, which is called the levirate marriage. Ruth is, in essence, suggesting to Boaz that they be married. She is saying that he can act as the redeemer, not for her, but for Naomi, by marrying Ruth, who will bring Naomi with her into Boaz's household. Now, Boaz is very impressed with this offer. You can tell by his words. He says, this last instance of loyalty is better than the first. The word there that's translated loyalty is chesed. It can mean loyalty. It can mean kindness. When it's used to describe God's relationship with the people, either as individuals or as a group, it refers to God's loyalty, his covenant loyalty to his people. The loyalty that he swears, that he's not forced to show, but the loyalty that he chooses to show because of his great love and his declared covenant with his people. That's more or less the way that it's being used to describe Ruth's loyalty to Naomi. This loyalty that Ruth has shown to Naomi is now even better, because even more than going with Naomi and saying, I'll be with you, I'll go with you, I'll live with you, your people will be my people, your God will be my God, all of those things. Ruth has now said, I'm going to even take the further step. I'm going to get into a family, and I'm going to take you with me into the family. Now that's impressive. Why is it so much more impressive, though? Why is Boaz, it'd be one thing to say, that's an amazing thing for you to offer. But the language describing his words seemed to be even greater. Well, it's because of another Hebrew word that is translated, it's the same word, but it's translated two different ways, and that obscures a little bit of the way that the language is being used, and it underscores, once we see how that the word is the same as the other place it was used, it underscores the depths of Ruth's commitment to do right by Naomi. And the word is translated in what Ruth says as cloak. Spread your cloak over your servant, for you are the Goel, the next of kin. The word is translated as cloak earlier, back in chapter 2, was spoken by Boaz, and it was translated there as wings. It was describing the way that Ruth had come into Israel for refuge with her mother-in-law Naomi, and that by coming into Israel, coming to God's people, she had come under God's wings for protection. Ruth is simply suggesting to Boaz that as he prayed and as he blessed her and Naomi to be under God's wings for protection, that he, Boaz, now be the means by which God spreads those wings. She uses the exact same word that Boaz used. Our English translations, they like to translate things so that we read them good in English. And that means that where the same word is used, often it's going to be translated differently, even though the same idea is at root. And the use of the different English word can obscure it a little bit. This is one of those places. The same word used by Ruth that was first used by Boaz. So Ruth has not only said to Boaz, I am asking you to marry me, to be the redeemer, the kinsman redeemer, the Goel, who can then redeem Naomi from her great sorrows. She is asking this, and she is doing it according to the very law of this new people whom she has chosen. She is showing integrity. She is there, and yes, she's next to Boaz. Yes, they're on the threshing floor. Yes, the seduction that we would automatically assume as a part of this is implied and is very possible. But also possible for Boaz, who has been identified as a man of integrity, is the option to honor the integrity that Ruth is displaying by accepting her proposal of marriage. Now, next week's message, we'll get into that a little bit more, and we're going to see a little bit more of the business relationship that's involved in this dimension of marriage, and how Boaz may be moved to do so, even if he's not technically in love with Ruth. That's something that our culture is we assume that that's a part of a marriage almost always. In fact, our marriages of choice in our culture are the culmination of a love relationship. In this culture, one that is where survival of one's family and one's clan may depend upon connections with other families and other clans. Marriage often takes on the character of a business relationship. It is a way that two clans may join in a venture. They may join their forces. They are arranged. Marriages are arranged for the benefit and protection of the people involved and for the benefit of the families as a whole. What we're used to, not always a part of their marriages. Love matches might develop, but they're not necessarily the first priority. That's the way in which Ruth is suggesting to Boaz, marry me so that you can redeem Naomi from her trouble and her sorrow. And she is suggesting that this be done fully according to the law that she, as a Moabite, is not necessarily enjoined or required to obey. And Boaz recognizes his. He says at the end of the passage that I read, for all of the assembly of my people know that you are a worthy woman. The phrase that is translated as worthy woman are the same words that were translated to describe Boaz when we first met him. He was described as a prominent man of wealth, and wealth is a characteristic that he had. Prominence is a characteristic that he had, but the phrase used, Gibor Chayil, is one that refers also to integrity, to being a man of integrity, a man of respect. And when he describes Ruth, you're a worthy woman, he's saying the same thing about her. I gave the sermon that I preached yesterday the title, Game, Respect, Game. In sports, that's a title that athletes may use to describe the way they feel towards another athlete whom they might even be in competition with, somebody on the other team. An athlete who has skills at his or her particular sport is said to have game. And the other athlete, maybe a member of another team, maybe even somebody that's not very well liked, also has game. The one who then respects those skills says so, game, respect, game. Boaz respects Ruth's integrity. The integrity of Boaz will allow him to do nothing else. Next week, we'll see how this continues. I'm going to go ahead and press finish and post and hope this video posts to the feed so I can at least make a video later that can go on. And I'll see if we can find the fix for our live stream feed. Anyway, if you've watched this, if you saw it yesterday, thanks for watching it again. And if not, I hope that it's been a blessing to you, and I hope that it works right. Otherwise, I'll just go ahead and record something later and send it out that way. So anyway, hope you have a great afternoon. God bless.